Hi guys, sorry, I know the sunlight's a little harsh, and I was gonna make my bed before filming this, but Tiger was asleep on there right before I set up the camera, and I didn't want to wake him up, but now here he is awake, licking himself. Ain't that right, T-Tap? So if you watched my 10 most haunted places in Indiana, I know that was like uploaded a little while ago, I had said in the comments that I'm going to try and do updates, like follow-ups of different other haunted places in Indiana and just haunted places in general. But I did get one request from a YouTuber. I'm not going to say your whole name in case you don't want me to say it, but her first name's Hannah. So Hannah, this is a request video by you. She wanted me to cover the Gypsy Graveyard. Now, the Gypsy Graveyard is located in Crown Point, Indiana, and I guess there's rumors surrounding it that it's haunted and things. So I found a couple of sites that has articles about this graveyard. The first one is on, the website is technogypsy.com. I'll put a text somewhere on the screen. And what they had to say was, let me see here, apparently a group of gypsies had moved to Crown Point in the early 1800s and were kicked out of town, as is usual with traveling gypsies. But after being in town for only a couple of days, that's when they were kicked out. They were only there for a couple of days. So accused of stealing livestock and stealing immoral values, or they were accused of stealing livestock, stealing other things. They had immoral values. Supposedly they were doing pagan rituals. They were pressured to leave. So the gypsies were hit with a plague of influenza and told the townspeople that they couldn't leave till they got better. But the citizens of Crown Point were uncaring and turned their backs, refusing to give them Medicaid. Dear God, help me, Lord, speak today. Refusing to give them medicine or care. Sorry. So the gypsies moved on and buried their dead in mounds on the site that was the gypsy encampment, now turned cemetery. So it is believed that they cast a spell in the area, a spell of protection and vengeance, cursing Crown Point and the land that is now Southeast Grove Cemetery. Reports from visitors to the cemetery include apparitions, a man with a shotgun chasing you off, blood on the bottom of your pants after visiting, balls of light or orbs chasing you, noises, etc. The list goes on. So since several books and ghost hunter stories have published the myths and lore about this cemetery, the cemetery has been plagued by local Satanists and vandals, with acts ranging from knocking over gravestones, digging up bodies, decapitated heads, and other malicious activities. Now that's all that this website had to say about that graveyard. So I did find another website, which I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. I'll put it here. And this says that the following October 31st, 2001 article, page A1, and photos are reprinted here with permission from the Times, the Northwest Indiana newspaper where they originally appeared. And I guess the article is called Gypsy Curse Haunts Cemetery. So I was going to read this too as well, since the other website kind of had just a short post on this. So neighbors cast doubts on myths surrounding the Southeast Grove Cemetery. Eagle Creek Township, the townsfolk walked away from the abandoned gypsy campsite, their pants damp and stained with the color of blood. They hadn't welcomed the gypsies with open arms, and the gypsies, even in the 1820s, had powers beyond the comprehension of ordinary men. The gypsies were told to leave what would later become Crown Point because townspeople had heard tales of pagan rituals and disappearing livestock. When an influenza epidemic hit the gypsy campsite southeast of town, the townspeople refused to help or provide medicine, not Medicaid, to the gypsies, many of whom died and were buried in earthen mounds near the campsite. Because of that, the townspeople and their descendants would forever pay a price for their inhospitable attitude. The gypsies had cursed the city, and their dead haunted what would later become Southeast Grove Cemetery. I think there's a photo on here. I don't know, I can't click it. So today, the cemetery, also known as the Gypsy's Graveyard, seems serene and peaceful, but visitors say it takes on a different feel at night with spirits that come to life. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Churcherville police officer Diane Pfeiffer knows. When she visited the cemetery in August with her 8-year-old nephew Patrick and her dog, she saw 2 statues, one of Jesus and another of an angel that she had not noticed before. So she moved slowly closer to the angel, which she said was wearing Mardi Gras type beads. She said it was just like a strange feeling and sensation, like you've stepped into a cool pocket. Her dog froze in its tracks and refused to leave her side even when her nephew called for it. She had known of another statue there, as she and Patrick had visited the cemetery a half dozen or so times, but that one had mysteriously disappeared, she said. The statue, she said, was of a woman carrying flowers or fruit in her arms, wearing a long flowing gown. The statue reminded her of a gypsy. She isn't the only one who has noticed strange happenings at the cemetery. Several people have posted internet messages this year, which the article was written in 2001, that give credibility to the 180-year-old myth. One person in the Chicagoland Ghost Club discussion group on Yahoo said that when people walk behind the cemetery's fence, blood appears on their pants. Even Mike McDowell, president of the Indiana Ghost Trackers, conducts tours at the Gypsy's Graveyard at least twice a year. He said he has seen white balls of light called orbs and paranormal activity such as ectoplasms, strange white mist or shapes is what that is, the ectoplasms. So one time McDowell said a person in his group felt something tugging at his belt, and when he looked to see what it was, he said he saw a white orb. Does that mean that all the creepy feelings, cold breezes, I cannot read today, cold breezes and perceived apparitions really equate to a haunted cemetery? Residents whose families have lived in the area for generations say no. There ain't no gypsy graveyard around here, said Ronnie Brenneman. You could tell that's an Indiana accent right there. He lives just up the hill from the cemetery. He says there's no gypsies buried here. He has been the chief caretaker at Southeast Grove since his son, 16-year-old Joseph, died 4 years ago in a car accident. Joseph is buried there. He said the only gypsies thought to have been in the area were transients who briefly worked for a neighbor by the name of Abraham's son. I think Abraham's son. And that man died decades ago. So he said that he knew a couple of gypsies had died while in the area, not of influenza, but of pneumonia. And the other gypsies took their dead home rather than burying them near Crown Point. Besides the story of the townspeople shunning the gypsies is historically inaccurate. What is my issue today? I apologize. As the first people to settle in Lake County did not come until the mid-1830s. As for the mysteriously appearing and disappearing statues and their curious bead necklaces, he has an explanation for that too. He said he has put 3 statues and a stone bench at the cemetery since his son died. The beads, he said, were actually rosary beads placed at the site by a local Catholic group. Rampant vandalism over the years has lent an aura of creepiness to the cemetery. Clarence Bradley, the former Eagle Creek Township trustee who was in charge of the cemetery's care for 28 years until 1994, said that young people would drive into the cemetery and topple the memorials with their four-wheelers. He said that one person returned a headstone he had found 3 miles south of the cemetery. When reached at his home, current township trustee Jim Morrow said he preferred not to comment because stories about the cemetery attract more vandals, particularly around Halloween time. People still come to the cemetery to look for ghosts, and Brenneman blames a book that describes the cemetery as haunted as the fuel that keeps the myth alive. He said he doesn't mind the ghost hunters because they just like to take pictures and be spooked, but the devil worshippers, who also are drawn to the site, concern him. He said one time about 6 years ago, an occult group dug up a box of bones belonging to a baby girl and strung them from a tree with a mutilated goat and cat. He said they smeared the girl's bones with the animal's blood. The girl, meant to symbolize a virgin, was their offering to the devil, he said. That story meshes somewhat with one told by Kara Dokopil, who was taking pictures for a college class recently at the cemetery. She, who is from Hebron, said she heard a group called the Misfits would dig up bones at the cemetery and steal the heads. Brenneman said another time a group made a devil's mask and placed it over the head on Jesus' statue, which stands directly behind his son's grave. He said there's a book about the cemetery that says apparitions can be seen above Joseph's burial place, so the group worships on top of it. It doesn't make me feel good because they always want to have seances on my son's grave. The Lake County Sheriff's Department has been called to the cemetery, but Brenneman said that the visitors have police scanners and can tell when officers are on their way. He and his father-in-law, Hanley Chapman, have some of their own fun at the cemetery when people come looking for scary stuff, and their antics could be a reason people keep coming back for more. Chapman said that he keeps a washing machine drum and a coffee can in the woods that he uses to make sounds like a growling animal. The last Halloween, Brenneman said he filled a white suit from his job at a Gary steel mill with hay, tied a rope around its neck, and buried it in the leaves near where people are known to look for ghosts. Once visitors arrived, he and Chapman threw a stick their way to get their attention. Then they yanked the rope, and the stuffed suit went flying into the air, sending the visitors scurrying for their cars. Brenneman said they'll be in the woods again tonight, but he isn't sure what stunts they'll pull this time. You never know, he said. It depends on how I feel. So I don't live anywhere near this area. I don't know. I just learned about this graveyard today. But my opinion, just from reading the couple of articles, is it seems like the whole story with the gypsies becoming sick with influenza and the townspeople back in the 1800s kind of, shunning them out and some dying from the sickness. It kind of seems like that is mostly just a rumor or just like a ghost story attached to the cemetery, and that probably isn't historically correct. But because it has that like creepy little ghost story surrounding it, it is attracting ghost hunters and, like they said, Satanists and Vandalists and other things. So for somebody to take, for a group of people to dig up like little baby bones and violate it and mutilate animals and add blood to, that's just such a violation. It just makes me think that, like, what if it was one of my loved ones that was dug up and used for some type of Satan ritual or satanic ritual? How sick my stomach would be to find out that, their grave was violated and animals mutilated, and it's not a good thing at all. Like that man said, he's not really concerned with the actual ghost hunters, because professional ghost hunters, just like in my last video in the beginning, I told you that if you ever go out ghost hunting, that you need to make sure that you have permission from whoever owns the property or whatever it is. You need permission. You cannot just go and trespass on property and expect not to be punished for that in some way. So don't just go out and violate someone's privacy. Like if there's a haunted house over here and now it's privately owned, don't just sneak into the house when they're not there trying to catch a ghost story. You need permission from the owner. So when he says that he really doesn't mind the ghost hunters because they're not a big deal, like I was saying, professional ghost hunters usually make sure that they have permission. They're a lot more professional about it, and they're not so childish. It's not just giggles and laughs to them. This is most likely their job. So they're trying to be accurate and professional and just, you know what I'm saying. So do I personally believe that the Gypsy Graveyard is haunted? I can't say. I've never been there. I've never, sometimes we get creepy feelings. I know this sounds so weird, but sometimes I think we can sense things. And so I've never been in the area, so I can't say, I've never had experiences with there, or I can't say that I've been there and nothing's happened. Just the fact that I just had a sun shift, sorry. Just the fact that it's a graveyard, there's a possibility that spirits could be roaming around. But I've visited the graveyard near me multiple times, you know, because I have family members buried there, and I've never felt any type of presence of any kind. I know for sure that I've never felt anything malicious, and I've never felt unsafe there. I've always felt comfortable. Now, of course, it closes at night, so we can't go in there after sunset. So I've never been in the graveyard at night, but I just know that when I look around the graveyard, I don't sense anything. Anyway, thank you so much, Hannah. Again, I don't want to say your last name in case you did not want to be mentioned. For this request, it was actually kind of cool learning something new about a cemetery and the sort of ghost story and rumor behind it. I know there was a few people asking me to look up other places, like someone had said look up Columbus, Indiana. I'm getting around to that, and I actually have a list of some stories saved on my tablet, actually, not on my phone. And I'll make another video with that soon. I'm getting married February 5th, so the whole wedding planning stuff has just been super stressful. That's why I'm kind of falling behind. But I did make you guys a promise. I will follow up with different stories, and so be looking out for that. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and bye. See you next time.